Absolute embarrassment by Ferrari once again. The Chinese Grand Prix, which started at 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, it was a complete blunder for them. If you want to look at the top three, Oscar Piastri takes home first place for McLaren, followed by George Russell for Mercedes, and then Norris comes in the top three, being in third. Verstappen is in fourth. And this is where the good momentum was. I think a good building block going into the Japanese Grand Prix in April 6th was, again, Leclerc and Hamilton were both in the top five. Hamilton being fifth, and then Leclerc being sixth in the race. Now, why is it gut wrenching? Is what we see on the screen right now, and I'm sure probably all of you have seen a couple hours ago, was that all three of these guys, including Pierre Gasly, were all disqualified. For Gasly and Leclerc, they were disqualified for underweighted cars, and Hamilton was deemed to have excessive skid wear. And again, it's an absolute gut wrenching spot here because you look at the standings for the drivers, and there's I think at this point in two races, there's just far too much ground to make up. I mean, just how everything is looking so far. You hope that the Japanese Grand Prix things turn around. It's different. They have kind of similar success they had, and for the Chinese Grand Prix being fifth and sixth, or maybe a little bit higher in the standings. But you look at the points; it's just they are completely out of the discussion for the top three. You have Lando Norris in first place with 44 points. Max Verstappen carrying Red Bull at this point because of Lawson doing absolutely nothing so far with 36 points. And you have George Russell for Mercedes, 35 points, as well as Piastri being the top four as well for McLaren with 34. And right now the top five, both the Mercedes racers. So to me, this is kind of just a embarrassment for Lewis Hamilton, especially seeing both racers for Mercedes do better than you. The team wise, if you go to the constructors, the teams doing much better. Mercedes second place, 57 points. Ferrari tied for fourth with 17, along with Williams Mercedes. It's just, I don't know. I don't know where Ferrari goes from here. Again, it's an absolute blunder. It's an embarrassment of what's happening so far, and again, it's getting away from them relatively quickly. It is because these guys are not going away. George Russell, Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, they're not going away. They're not going to make these mistakes. They're not going to have blunders, especially in the first one as well. They're all going to be competing in the top three. They're all going to be right there. Ferrari needs to wake up for both Hamilton and Leclerc. They need to wake up and turn this around. They had for me, a much better race than the Australian Grand Prix. Again, at the end result, they did rank better than the first go around, but just to have that disqualification, that gut punch right there it's embarrassing. It sucks. It's unfortunate for them, and again, the Japanese Grand Prix has to be the turnaround. I think we're already at a crosswalk right here, a crossing point where they need to change things relatively quickly because both these guys are falling way behind. I can't imagine another blunder like this, or another result going to the third race, because at that point, I think you can just pack it up and say, you know what, it's already done for Ferrari. It is. I mean, especially for their fans too. The expectations have been not met, not even close of what they've expected, especially bringing someone in for the caliber of Lewis Hamilton. And this really goes back to last week when I made a video for the Australian Grand Prix about Lewis Hamilton. I said I'm concerned about him moving forward with Ferrari because he just hasn't done anything the last 4 years, ever since that controversial ending, if you want to call it that, in 2021, when if you're in this perspective, the title was stolen from him, or if you want to say it was rightfully won by Verstappen, however you feel about that. Ever since that point, he only has 2 wins. He has 2 total wins since 2021. Again, I worry about that, especially looking at Mercedes now for the teams. They're doing much better without him. Since 2021, I made the comparison between him and just Verstappen. I didn't include anyone else on there. I didn't include McLaren. But when you look at that, Red Bull since 2021 has done better. And it's not like they were first place every single year since then. It's just they've been doing better than the Mercedes. And now, the first year, 2 races in without Hamilton, they've skyrocketed and they are doing better. And the racers are doing better than Hamilton. So does this again fall back on him and saying he was the issue? He is the problem. Is he past his prime? Is there other thing? I don't know. And not just not just playing just on Solly and Hamilton, for Ledrick as well. I mean, it's a team collapse. It's not just on Hamilton, but he is if I want to say the face of that team as well, bringing someone in there, paying him $60 million a year for it. Again, it's just I don't know where Ferrari goes from here. They need to wake up and they need to have a big, strong performance at the Japanese Grand Prix. Like I said, it'll be on April 6th. So it's gonna be interesting to see that in terms of the time for the race. That would be, if we move over to that, that'd be 1 o'clock in the morning. So it sucks, another really early race there, but they need to turn around quickly because it's already getting out of hand for what Ferrari's going through right now and for the racers. It's again for the top three guys, for Verstappen, Norris, Russell. They're not going away. They're not. They're going to be racking up those points. So Hamilton, Ledrick, especially Hamilton, needs to steal these races. He needs to do something. He needs to turn back the clock and go back to prime Hamilton, post pre 2021 or even right up to the last race of the year. He needs to be that Hamilton, and hopefully for their sake, they can turn around. But again, it's unfortunate what's happening to this team. It is. It's kind of at a loss for words that this thing happened to them. Both racers on top of that too. But we'll see what happens on April 6th in the Japanese Grand Prix, if they can turn things around, or if it's just going to be the same old, and we're having the same discussion once again, seeing these two teams at the bottom of the leaderboards.